The first rays of dawn barely kissed the horizon as he stepped into the hallowed halls of iron and sweat. The gym stood silent, an echoing chamber of potential energy waiting to be unleashed. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the pristine floor, illuminating rows of treadmills and weight racks standing in patient anticipation. The air hung still, carrying a faint scent of disinfectant and determination, a silent promise of transformation and strength. He paused, a solitary figure amidst the slumbering machines, and inhaled deeply. He felt a surge of vitality course through his veins, a potent cocktail of ambition and resolve. The world outside, with its myriad complexities and tribulations, seemed to fade into insignificance as he prepared to confront his own limits, to sculpt his body and fortify his mind within these walls. He knew the gym was not merely a place of physical exercise, but a sanctuary. A refuge where he could find solace and strength amidst the storms of life. "This is where success is born," he murmured, his voice echoing slightly in the vast emptiness. Then shared a piece of advice, a pearl of wisdom gleaned from countless hours of toil and tribulation. "No matter what burdens you carry, what heartaches weigh you down, this is the place where your problems find their resolution." He reveled in the solitude, in the knowledge that he was the first warrior to enter this arena on this particular Tuesday, ready to wage war against weakness and doubt. With a final, lingering look around, he approached the weights, a glint of determination in his eyes. He embraced the challenges that lay ahead, the burn of muscle, the sweat that would soon cascade down his brow. Because he knew that it was through these trials that he would forge his physical form, sculpt his character, and emerge stronger, more resilient, and more ready to face whatever the day may bring. Unbeknownst to the man who stood triumphant in the empty gym, basking in the glow of his dedication, his future was already stained with a darkness that would soon eclipse the light. For this man, known as Brandon Kadema, would, in January of 2021, become infamous throughout Kenya for a crime of unspeakable brutality, the murder of his fiancée, Danielle Kokemosi. The serene image of the empty gym faded, replaced by the haunting question, what events could possibly transform such a seemingly disciplined individual into a perpetrator of such violence? Fortune, or perhaps fate, intervened when DCI detectives apprehended him on Friday, January 8, 2021. Yet, this arrest was not an isolated incident, but rather a grim culmination of a disturbing pattern. It was not Brandon's first brush with the law, nor his inaugural appearance in the glaring headlines for perpetrating violent acts against women. A sinister undercurrent ran through his life, a history of aggression that cast a dark shadow over his seemingly disciplined facade. To truly comprehend the depths of Brandon's troubling behavior, it's essential to delve into his past, specifically his time spent in South Africa. His experiences there, prior to his relocation to Kenya in 2017, held the key to understanding the origins of his violent tendencies. They shaped the trajectory of his life, leading him down a path of darkness and destruction. But what transpired during those years in South Africa? What events and influences molded him into the man who would later commit such a heinous act? Born in the heart of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Brandon Kadema's early life was marked by a significant relocation. At a tender age, he journeyed with his family to South Africa, a land that would become his adopted home. It was there, amidst the vibrant tapestry of South African society, that he spent his formative years, receiving his education and shaping his identity. He attended Bracken High School, where he excelled academically and socially, before pursuing higher education at the esteemed University of Pretoria. The halls of academia became his domain as he immersed himself in the world of commerce, ultimately earning a Bachelor of Commerce degree in 2007. His specialization encompassed a trifecta of disciplines: marketing, business administration, and management, equipping him with a diverse skill set for the professional world. Having spent the majority of his life in South Africa, Brandon embraced the nation as his own, culminating in his naturalization as a citizen in 2015. He proudly held dual nationality, a testament to his connection to both his birthplace and his adopted homeland. In the years following his university graduation, Brandon embarked on a diverse career path, holding a variety of positions across the realms of marketing, sales, and business operations. He navigated the corporate landscape with ambition and drive, steadily climbing the ladder of success. Outside of his professional pursuits, Brandon cultivated a persona of charisma and vitality. He was known for his unwavering dedication to physical fitness, spending countless hours sculpting his physique in the gym. He indulged in the vibrant nightlife, reveling in the company of friends and acquaintances. And he cultivated a reputation as a charming and attractive man, effortlessly attracting the attention of women. Yet, beneath this veneer of success and charm lurked a dark and disturbing secret, a propensity for violence towards women. This hidden side, carefully concealed from public view, threatened to shatter the carefully constructed facade he had cultivated. The shadows of his past were long and menacing, and they were about to emerge into the light. It was not until June of 2017 that the full extent of Brandon's violent behavior would finally be revealed, as his past actions began to catch up with him, threatening to expose the darkness that lay within. The stage was set for a dramatic unveiling, a confrontation with the consequences of his actions. The night of Friday, June 23, 2017, was filled with the promise of revelry as Brandon made his way to a house party nestled in the upscale neighborhood of Morningside, Jomia Pattersonsburg. The air buzzed with anticipation as he joined the other guests, eager to unwind and enjoy the camaraderie. Among the attendees was a woman named Miranda Jacobs, an attractive and vivacious presence who added to the lively atmosphere. According to Miranda's account, the party was a cozy gathering of approximately 10 people. The apartment was stylishly decorated, with modern furniture and vibrant artwork adorning the walls. Soft lighting cast a warm glow over the scene, creating an inviting ambience. Laughter and music filled the air as the group engaged in lively conversation, played games, and savored the intoxicating effects of alcohol. The night unfolded with an air of carefree abandon, as friendships were forged and memories were made. As the hours passed, the bonds between the partygoers deepened, fueled by shared laughter and a sense of camaraderie. At some point during the evening, Brandon approached Miranda with a request, his eyes twinkling with a mixture of charm and urgency. He explained that his friend was in need of funds to cover the cost of a taxi, and asked if she would be willing to lend him the necessary amount. Miranda, known for her generosity and willingness to help others, readily agreed to his request, but she also emphasized that she would need the money returned, as it was specifically earmarked for her own transportation home. Brandon, with a reassuring smile, promised to repay her promptly, and the group resumed their merrymaking, the momentary transaction fading into the background. The party continued late into the night, stretching into the early hours of Saturday, June 24, 2017. As the first rays of dawn began to paint the sky, Miranda made her preparations to depart, signaling the end of her evening of revelry. With her hand already on the doorknob, ready to step out into the dawning day, Miranda turned to Brandon, a gentle reminder on her lips. She requested the return of the money she had so generously lent him earlier in the night. But his face hardened, his eyes clouded with a sudden anger. He refused. The atmosphere in the room shifted abruptly, the carefree joy replaced by an unsettling tension. Words were exchanged, escalating into a heated argument that shattered the jovial mood. Voices rose in intensity, fueled by frustration and resentment. And then, the unthinkable happened. Brandon unleashed his pent-up rage, resorting to physical violence against Miranda. The details of the attack were so brutal, so horrifying, that they are not appropriate to share, but the assault was so violent that Miranda lost consciousness, succumbing to the brutal onslaught. When Miranda's consciousness returned, she found herself disoriented and in pain, lying on the cold, hard floor. The room spun around her, a vortex of blurry shapes and distorted sounds. She struggled to make sense of her surroundings, her mind struggling to piece together the events that had led to her current predicament. With a surge of adrenaline, she realized the danger she was in and mustered all her remaining strength to crawl towards the door, her only hope of escape. But as she reached the threshold, her heart sank. Brandon, his face contorted with a mixture of rage and defiance, stood blocking her path. He slammed the door shut and locked it, trapping her inside the apartment, a prisoner of his violent outburst. He stood before her, a menacing figure, refusing to let her leave, his eyes glinting with a disturbing intensity. He paced back and forth, his words a chilling attempt to control the situation. He kept demanding to know how much money she wanted, his voice laced with a thinly veiled threat. It was clear that he was trying to silence her, to buy her compliance, and prevent her from revealing the truth about his actions. The apartment, once a haven of conviviality, had transformed into a prison, the walls closing in on Miranda as she faced her tormentor. Summoning her courage, Miranda pleaded with Brandon to release her, to allow her to seek help and escape the nightmare she had found herself in. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Brandon relented. Perhaps moved by a flicker of remorse, or perhaps simply realizing the futility of his actions, he unlocked the door and allowed Miranda to stumble out of the apartment. Bruised, battered, and desperate, Miranda fled the scene, seeking refuge and assistance from anyone who would lend her a helping hand. She stumbled through the apartment complex, knocking on doors, her voice hoarse with exhaustion and fear. She recounted her harrowing experience, her words a desperate plea for someone to believe her and offer her sanctuary. Finally, after what seemed like an endless search, one of the tenants opened their door, their eyes widening in shock at the sight of Miranda's disheveled and injured state. The compassionate stranger ushered her inside, providing a safe haven from the storm that had engulfed her life. They listened intently as Miranda recounted her ordeal, their faces etched with concern and sympathy. The tenant promptly called the police, their voice trembling with urgency as they reported the assault and requested immediate assistance. When the police arrived at the scene, Miranda clung to the hope that justice would finally be served, that Brandon would be apprehended and held accountable for his heinous actions. But to her dismay and disbelief, the officers responded with apathy and indifference. They cast dismissive glances at her battered face, their expressions conveying a lack of concern or empathy. To her utter shock, they laughed, their words a cruel mockery of her suffering. They told her that they would not take any action, that they would not arrest Brandon because he had attacked her when they were both intoxicated. Their words were a slap in the face, a betrayal of the trust she had placed in them to protect and serve. Despair washed over Miranda as she realized the depths of her isolation, the injustice of the situation. Feeling abandoned by the authorities, she was left to fend for herself, her faith in the system shattered. Fortunately, an ambulance arrived, summoned by the compassionate tenant who had provided her with shelter. The paramedics quickly assessed her injuries and determined that she required immediate medical attention. Miranda was carefully placed on a stretcher and rushed to the nearest hospital, where she remained for several days, receiving treatment for her physical wounds and emotional trauma. But even as her body began to heal, the scars of that night would linger, a constant reminder of the violence she had endured and the injustice she had faced. Fueled by a profound sense of injustice and a burning desire for accountability, Miranda refused to remain silent. Frustrated by the police's inaction, she decided to take matters into her own hands, harnessing the power of social media to expose Brandon's brutality and seek justice for the violence she had endured. On Tuesday, June 27, 2017, Miranda turned to her Facebook account, her fingers trembling as she typed a powerful and emotional post. She wrote with unwavering conviction, her words carrying the weight of her suffering and the determination to make her voice heard. In the post, she directly tagged Brandon's account, ensuring that he would be confronted with the consequences of his actions. "This is the man who beat me and almost killed me," she declared, her words a stark and chilling indictment. "I've been in hospital for almost 5 days now, recovering from the injuries he inflicted upon me," she continued, her voice filled with anger and disappointment. "The police refused to arrest him, dismissing the assault as a mere drunken brawl. They said that because we were both under the influence of alcohol, his actions were somehow excusable. I feel utterly violated by the South African Police Service, SAPS, the very institution that is supposed to protect and serve me." Her words were a scathing critique of the system, highlighting the flaws and biases that allowed perpetrators of violence to escape accountability. She concluded her post with a desperate plea, her voice echoing with vulnerability and fear. Where else am I supposed to run to if the police won't help me? Do I have to be in a body bag to be taken seriously? Do I have to become a victim of fatal violence before my cries for justice are finally heard? Her words were a poignant reminder of the plight of countless victims of violence, who are often ignored and dismissed by the very authorities entrusted to protect them. The post was accompanied by a photograph of Brandon, his face now synonymous with the violence he had perpetrated. Miranda also included screenshots of their WhatsApp chat, providing irrefutable evidence of his callous indifference to her suffering. In the chat, Miranda had sent Brandon photos of the severe injuries he had inflicted upon her, the images a graphic testament to his brutality. She had accompanied the photos with a simple text: "Just thought I should update you on the severity of these injuries." His response was chillingly cold and nonchalant. He simply said, "Thank you." Miranda's post ignited a firestorm of outrage and support across South African social media. Her story resonated with countless individuals who had experienced or witnessed similar acts of violence, and her courage in speaking out inspired others to share their own stories. The hashtag Justice for Miranda began trending, becoming a rallying cry for victims of violence, and a symbol of the fight for justice and accountability. Her words spread like wildfire, amplified by the collective voices of those who demanded an end to the culture of violence and impunity. The impact of Miranda's courageous act reverberated far beyond the confines of social media, capturing the attention of local newspapers and blogs. Her story, a stark portrayal of violence and injustice, became a focal point of public discourse, sparking widespread debate and demanding accountability from the authorities. The media outlets, recognizing the significance of her case, amplified her voice, ensuring that her story reached a wider audience. Yet, the ripple effects of Miranda's revelation extended even further, uncovering a pattern of abuse that had long been concealed beneath the surface. After the news broke, a flood of messages began pouring into Miranda's inbox, each one a testament to the hidden darkness that surrounded Brandon. Women from all walks of life, emboldened by Miranda's bravery, started coming forward, sharing their own harrowing experiences of abuse at Brandon's hands. They recounted tales of physical violence, emotional manipulation, and psychological torment, their voices joining together in a chorus of pain and resilience. One woman, who chose to remain anonymous to protect her privacy and safety, contacted Miranda on Facebook, revealing that she had dated Brandon back in 2015. She went on to share a chilling account of the abuse she had suffered during their relationship, her words painting a vivid picture of the violence she had endured. She revealed that Brandon had assaulted her so severely that she ended up in the hospital with a dislocated shoulder and other serious injuries. The physical wounds were a visible manifestation of the emotional and psychological trauma she had suffered, scars that would linger long after the bruises had faded. Driven by a desire for justice, she had bravely opened a case against him, determined to hold him accountable for his actions. However, despite her efforts, the legal system failed her. After nearly a year of court hearings, the case was ultimately dismissed due to insufficient evidence, a devastating blow that left her feeling betrayed and demoralized. The fact that the case was dismissed despite the photographic proof of her injuries and the presence of a witness underscored the systemic challenges faced by victims of violence, who are often silenced and disbelieved. The lady went on to reveal a disturbing aspect of Brandon's upbringing, alleging that his own mother had enabled his violent behavior, perhaps unknowingly perpetuating a cycle of abuse that had Maya Patterson generations. She recounted the harrowing experiences she endured at the hands of Brandon's mother, painting a portrait of a woman desperately trying to protect her son, even at the expense of the truth. She said that Brandon's mother would frequently come to her home, pleading with her to drop the case, her voice filled with desperation and entreaty. She would offer excuses for her son's behavior, downplaying the severity of his actions and attempting to manipulate the woman into withdrawing her complaint. But when her pleas fell on deaf ears, the woman's demeanor would shift, her tone turning threatening and hostile. She would resort to intimidation tactics, attempting to instill fear and coerce the woman into dropping the case. Ultimately, the woman was forced to take out a restraining order against Brandon, a legal measure designed to protect her from further harassment and violence. She also revealed a disturbing pattern, stating that there were at least 3 other women she knew of who had gone through similar experiences of abuse at Brandon's hands. She expressed her frustration with the South African justice system, which she believed had failed to protect these women and hold Brandon accountable for his actions. Another woman who reached out to Miranda was Brandon's ex-fiancée, her story adding another layer of complexity to the unfolding narrative. Her story was featured in the Santon Chronicle newspaper on July 5, 2017, providing a platform for her to share her experiences with the wider community. She recounted her 4-year relationship with Brandon, a period that began with love and promise but gradually descended into a nightmare of abuse and control. She shared that the abuse started halfway through their relationship, a turning point that marked the beginning of her descent into a world of fear and isolation. The abuse began when she was pregnant with his child, a particularly vulnerable time in her life when she needed support and care. Instead, she was subjected to physical violence and emotional torment, her pregnancy becoming a period of immense suffering. He began physically assaulting her during the pregnancy, his rage often directed at her pregnant belly, a cruel and calculated act designed to inflict maximum pain and terror. One of the assaults left her hospitalized, her body battered and bruised, a stark reminder of the violence she had endured. And when she tried to leave him, to escape the cycle of abuse and reclaim her life, he would resort to manipulative tactics to keep her trapped. He would lock her inside the house, isolating her from the outside world and preventing her from seeking help. He would gaslight her, twisting her perception of reality, and making her believe that his violence was her fault. He would convince her that she was the one who was crazy, that she was overreacting, and that she was responsible for provoking his anger. His manipulation was so insidious that she began to doubt her own sanity, questioning her memories and her perceptions. The woman's story painted a chilling picture of a man who was capable of both charm and brutality, a master manipulator who used violence and psychological tactics to control and dominate his partners. In the wake of Miranda's explosive Facebook post, the South African police, facing mounting public pressure, launched a manhunt for Brandon, who had gone on the run, attempting to evade the consequences of his actions. The authorities, spurred by the widespread outrage and the growing evidence of his violent behavior, vowed to bring him to justice, determined to hold him accountable for the harm he had caused. However, despite their efforts, Brandon proved to be elusive, adept at evading capture and slipping through the cracks of the legal system. Just a few weeks later, in July of 2017, Brandon managed to slip out of South Africa, successfully crossing the border and relocating to Kenya, effectively dodging arrests by the South African police. His escape was a testament to his cunning and resourcefulness, as well as a damning indictment of the shortcomings of the South African law enforcement system. Once in Kenya, Brandon attempted to reinvent himself, shedding his past and embracing a new identity. According to his LinkedIn profile, he continued to make a living working remotely as an account manager at Oracle, maintaining a semblance of normalcy and professional success. As for his love life, he sought companionship and connection, signing up on a dating site in search of a partner. It was on this online platform that he encountered a freelance makeup artist named Kit, a vibrant and creative individual who caught his attention. After chatting online for a while, exchanging messages and getting to know each other virtually, they decided to meet in person in December of 2017, marking the beginning of a new chapter in Brandon's life. The meeting went well, and they soon began dating, their relationship blossoming amidst the backdrop of Nairobi's bustling city life. In the course of their relationship, Brandon continued to deceive those around him, carefully concealing the truth about his past and constructing a false narrative to protect his image. He lied to Kit about the reason he had left South Africa, spinning a web of deceit to manipulate her perceptions and gain her trust. As per Kit's testimony in court, Brandon told her that he had been falsely accused of domestic violence by a South African woman, a woman who he claimed had harmed herself and tried to frame him for the abuse. He presented himself as the victim of a malicious plot, seeking sympathy and understanding from Kit, further cementing his control over the relationship. He elaborated on the fabricated story, adding that his lawyer had advised him to leave South Africa temporarily while they worked to resolve the matter, painting himself as a law-abiding citizen unjustly caught in a legal quagmire. His deception was carefully crafted, designed to elicit sympathy and deflect suspicion, ensuring that Kit remained unaware of his true nature and the dark secrets he harbored. As their relationship progressed, Brandon's manipulative tactics continued to unfold, further solidifying his control over Kit's life. He eventually moved into Kit's house, taking up residence in her personal space and blurring the boundaries of their relationship. However, their relationship soon became rocky, plagued by Brandon's increasingly erratic behavior and his pattern of abuse. It became apparent that the charming facade he had initially presented was merely a mask, concealing a darker, more sinister personality. Brandon not only subjected Kit to physical and emotional abuse, but he also cheated on her frequently, engaging in multiple affairs with other women. His infidelity was a betrayal of trust, a callous disregard for Kit's feelings and the sanctity of their relationship. In court, Kit recalled one particularly disturbing incident at a party, where they had argued over his infidelity. The atmosphere was charged with tension, fueled by alcohol and simmering resentment. In the heat of the moment, Brandon's anger boiled over, and he lashed out in a fit of rage. He grabbed a drinking glass and hurled it at her, the glass shattering upon impact and causing her injuries serious enough to require medical treatment. The incident was a stark reminder of Brandon's volatile temper and his willingness to resort to violence when confronted. Kit also recounted another incident, describing how she discovered Brandon's infidelity after he used her laptop and forgot to log out of his social media accounts. She stumbled upon his private messages, inadvertently uncovering a trove of evidence that revealed the extent of his betrayal. From the messages she found, she learned that Brandon was involved with at least 3 other women, engaging in intimate relationships and exchanging explicit content. The revelation was devastating, shattering her trust and leaving her feeling betrayed and humiliated. The final straw came in October of 2019, when Brandon physically assaulted her and fractured her finger. The act was a culmination of months of abuse and manipulation, marking the end of their relationship and the beginning of Kit's journey to healing and justice. It was at that moment, with her finger fractured and her body aching, that she made the resolute decision to end the relationship for good. The pain and trauma she had endured had finally reached a breaking point, and she knew that she could no longer tolerate Brandon's abuse. She gathered her strength, packed her belongings, and left the house, severing all ties with Brandon and embarking on a path towards healing and self-discovery. By the time Kit was breaking up with Brandon, he had already left his job at Oracle and had launched his own company, Forever Bodies, in July of 2018. He had envisioned a venture that would combine his passion for fitness with his background in business management, creating a platform to share his knowledge and expertise with others. The company was, in many ways, a dream come true for him, a culmination of his aspirations and a reflection of his personal values. Through Forever Bodies, Brandon aspired to be a well-known fitness guru, personal trainer, and gym owner, building a brand that would inspire and empower individuals to achieve their health and fitness goals. He envisioned a state-of-the-art facility, equipped with the latest equipment and staffed by a team of dedicated professionals, creating a community where people could come together to pursue their fitness aspirations. Today, the only remaining artifacts of what Forever Bodies once was include an Instagram page and a slide deck linked on Brandon's LinkedIn profile. The Instagram page, filled with images of sculpted bodies and motivational quotes, serves as a ghostly reminder of Brandon's ambitions, a virtual museum of what could have been. The slide deck, a relic of his business plans, mentions that the company offered a variety of services, including one-on-one coaching, weight loss programs, bodybuilding, and boxing, showcasing the breadth of his vision and the potential of his venture. Furthermore, his posts on the Forever Bodies Instagram page reveal that he also helped clients set up their own gyms, providing them with the expertise and guidance they needed to create successful fitness businesses. He worked as a fitness instructor in several Nairobi-based gyms, including Smart Gyms at the Junction Mall and F45 in Lavington, sharing his knowledge and passion with a wider audience. Beyond growing his career in fitness after his breakup with Kit in October of 2019, Brandon began dating Danielle Koki Muzioki, a woman who would ultimately become his tragic victim. The two met at Club Milan in Westlands, a popular night spot known for its vibrant atmosphere and trendy clientele. They hit it off immediately, their connection sparking a new flame in Brandon's life. Drawn to her intelligence, her beauty, and her vibrant personality, they began dating in November of 2019, embarking on a relationship that would ultimately lead to a devastating end. Koki was an incredibly successful lawyer and human resources professional, a woman of immense talent and drive. She had built a thriving career, earning the respect and admiration of her peers. Her office was a reflection of her impeccable taste, adorned with sophisticated artwork and filled with natural light that streamed through the large windows. She possessed a sharp intellect and a keen eye for detail, qualities that made her a formidable force in the legal world. She was the founding and managing partner of Koki and Associates, a prestigious law firm that specialized in employment law, labor relations, and human resources advice. She was a sought-after expert in her field, providing guidance and counsel to businesses of all sizes. She was also a devoted mother of 2 young boys, showering them with love and affection, nurturing their growth and development. However, her personal life had been marked by its own challenges, as she had separated from her husband in July of 2019, navigating the complexities of co-parenting and rebuilding her life as a single mother. When Brandon and Koki began dating, everything seemed to be going well, their connection growing stronger with each passing day. They enjoyed spending time together, exploring Nairobi's vibrant social scene, and sharing their dreams and aspirations for the future. In April of 2020, their relationship reached a new milestone when Brandon moved into Koki's house at Jacaranda Gardens Estate along Kiambu Road. The move symbolized their commitment to each other, a deepening of their bond and a shared vision for a life together. However, beneath the surface of their seemingly idyllic relationship, a dark undercurrent was beginning to emerge. Over time, Brandon began to exhibit signs of physical abuse towards Koki, his anger and aggression escalating, turning their home into a battleground of fear and violence. Unbeknownst to Koki, Brandon had a troubling history of violence against women, a pattern of abuse that he had carefully concealed from her. She was unaware of the dark secrets that lurked beneath his charming facade, the history of violence and manipulation that had plagued his past relationships. But she would soon discover the truth, a revelation that would shatter her world and set in motion a chain of events that would ultimately lead to tragedy. You see, sometime in 2019, Brandon entered into a quid pro quo agreement with a woman we will refer to as Taylor, a businesswoman, MC, and an influencer with a significant social media following. The arrangement was simple. Brandon would provide Taylor with personal fitness training in exchange for her promoting his services to her social media audience, leveraging her platform to expand his reach and attract new clients. Taylor joined Smart Gyms at the Junction Mall, the very establishment where Brandon worked as a trainer, solidifying their professional connection. The two trained together for several months, their sessions characterized by a mix of rigorous exercise and light-hearted banter. Their workouts sometimes extended beyond the confines of the gym, venturing into the great outdoors for group sessions at various scenic locations across the country. Taylor, with her vibrant personality and infectious energy, injected a sense of fun and adventure into their training regimen. In line with the agreement, Taylor diligently shared posts about the training sessions on her Instagram account, showcasing Brandon's expertise and highlighting the transformative effects of his fitness programs. Her posts, accompanied by captivating images and compelling testimonials, helped to boost Brandon's profile as a fitness trainer, attracting new clients and expanding his reach within the fitness community. Later that year, Taylor embarked on a trip to the UK, a journey that would temporarily interrupt her fitness routine. Upon her return to Kenya in 2020, she did not resume her gym activities due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which had brought the world to a standstill and disrupted countless lives. The global health crisis forced Taylor to prioritize her health and safety, leading her to suspend her training sessions with Brandon and focus on navigating the challenges of the pandemic. The lead on Brandon's history of violence against women in South Africa would be blown wide open in March of 2020, when Taylor received a message on Instagram from Miranda Jacobs, the woman who had been brutally assaulted by Brandon years earlier. Miranda had come across Taylor's posts promoting Brandon's fitness training services and recognized him as the man who had inflicted so much pain and suffering upon her. Driven by a sense of moral obligation, Miranda reached out to Taylor, determined to expose Brandon's true nature and prevent him from causing harm to others. She shared with Taylor the harrowing details of her assault, recounting the violence she had endured and the lasting trauma she had suffered. She revealed that Brandon had fled South Africa, where there was still an outstanding warrant for his arrest, evading justice and continuing to live a life of deception. Deeply shocked and disturbed by the revelation, Taylor grappled with the weight of her newfound knowledge. She felt a sense of betrayal, realizing that she had unknowingly been promoting a man with a history of violence against women. Torn between her professional obligations and her moral convictions, she made the difficult decision to sever ties with Brandon, choosing not to confront him directly and blocking him everywhere, effectively cutting him out of her life. Eventually, word reached Koki about Brandon's violent past, the rumors swirling around her social circles, fueled by the whispers and insinuations of those who knew about his history. She was confronted with the horrifying truth that the man she loved and trusted had a troubling record of violence against women in South Africa, a revelation that shattered her perception of him and cast a dark shadow over their relationship. When she confronted him, demanding an explanation for the allegations, he dismissed them as baseless rumors, attempting to gaslight her and manipulate her into believing his version of events. He claimed that Taylor had pursued a romantic relationship with him, fabricating a narrative of unrequited love and scorned desire. He alleged that after he rejected her advances, she launched a smear campaign, using Miranda's story to tarnish his reputation and sabotage his career. Despite Brandon's troubling history and his attempts to deflect responsibility, life moved on for the couple, their relationship continuing, albeit under a cloud of suspicion and uncertainty. But things took a dark turn on Friday, September 11, 2020, near Fourways Junction along Kiambu Road, an incident that would foreshadow the tragic events to come. While the couple was inside Koki's car, an argument erupted, fueled by a cocktail of jealousy, resentment, and unresolved conflict. Brandon's temper flared, and he became physically violent, assaulting Koki with a barrage of punches and kicks, his rage spiraling out of control. In the midst of the assault, he even threw her phone out of the car, attempting to isolate her and prevent her from seeking help. Fearing for her life, Koki jumped out of the car and ran for safety, her heart pounding with terror as she fled from her abuser. She sought refuge in the nearby shops, desperately seeking help and protection from the man who had vowed to love and cherish her. She later confided in her friends about the incident, sharing the horrifying details of the assault and seeking their support and guidance. And the following day, seeking justice and protection, two of her friends accompanied her to Kiambu Police Station, where she reported the assault. She recounted the details of the attack, her voice trembling with emotion as she described the violence she had endured. The police officers listened intently, documenting her account and promising to investigate the matter thoroughly. They then proceeded to Kiambu District Hospital, where she received medical treatment for her injuries. The doctors examined her carefully, documenting the bruises, cuts, and abrasions that marred her body, providing her with a medical report that would serve as evidence in her pursuit of justice. According to one of her friends' account of events in court, Koki was so traumatized by the experience that she enrolled in self-defense classes, determined to empower herself and protect herself from future attacks. She sought to learn techniques that would enable her to defend herself against physical violence, regaining a sense of control and confidence in the face of her trauma. She also reached out to Taylor via Instagram, sharing how Brandon had assaulted her and even sent her photos of the injuries she had sustained, providing visual evidence of the violence she had endured. In response, Taylor, driven by a sense of solidarity and a desire to support Koki, connected her with Miranda, so that they could support one another and work together in their pursuit of justice. The three women formed a bond, united by their shared experiences and their determination to hold Brandon accountable for his actions. In a further attempt to understand Brandon's past and gain insights into his behavior, Koki contacted his ex-girlfriend Kit, also via Instagram. She inquired about Brandon's history of physical abuse, seeking to learn more about his pattern of violence and gain a better understanding of the man she had once loved. Kit, having experienced Brandon's abuse firsthand, opened up about her own experiences, sharing the details of her relationship and the violence she had endured. In turn, Koki shared what she had gone through, creating a space for mutual support and understanding. The two women later met in person, seeking solace and understanding in each other's company. They spoke at length about Brandon's violent behavior, sharing their experiences and offering each other support and encouragement. During the meeting, Kit urged Koki to leave the relationship, warning her of the dangers of remaining with a man who had a history of abuse. She shared her own experiences, hoping to dissuade Koki from making the same mistakes she had made, imploring her to prioritize her safety and well-being above all else. That meeting was the last time Kit heard from Koki, a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the unpredictable nature of human connections. Tragically, the next time she received any news about her was through Koki's sister, who informed her that Brandon had taken her life, delivering the devastating news that shattered her world and left her reeling with grief and disbelief. Brandon and Koki broke up following the September 2020 assault incident, their relationship fracturing under the weight of violence and betrayal. They were separated throughout the rest of September and October of 2020, their lives diverging as they sought to heal from the trauma and rebuild their lives. They even stopped living together during this time, their paths diverging as they navigated the complexities of their separation. However, fate, or perhaps a misguided sense of hope, intervened, and they eventually reconciled, drawn back together by a complex mix of love, longing, and perhaps a desperate desire to salvage their relationship. While on a vacation in Mombasa on Sunday, November 21, 2020, Brandon proposed, presenting her with a dazzling ring and promising her a lifetime of love and happiness. Koki, caught up in the romance of the moment and perhaps yearning for the fairy tale ending she had always dreamed of, said yes, accepting his proposal and committing to a future with him. But she still wanted him to show a deeper commitment to their relationship, seeking tangible symbols of their love and devotion. So they got matching tattoos as a symbol of their everlasting love, etching permanent marks onto their skin as a testament to their bond. But here's the sad thing, the tragic reality that underscored the entire relationship. Brandon was not faithful to Koki at all. At the very same time he asked her to marry him, professing his undying love and promising her a lifetime of commitment, he was involved in an online romance with a woman named Maya Patterson, betraying Koki's trust and shattering the illusion of their idyllic relationship. Maya Patterson says she was introduced to Brandon in May of 2018 by a friend, a chance encounter that would set in motion a chain of events with devastating consequences. They began chatting on WhatsApp, exchanging messages and photos, their online connection growing stronger with each passing day. They met in person 2 years later, on Thursday, December 31, 2020, at Onyx Lounge and Restaurant, a popular spot known for its vibrant atmosphere and trendy clientele. Maya Patterson recalls that on the night they met, Brandon was accompanied by another woman and her friends, a detail that would later prove to be particularly significant. That woman was his fiancée, Koki, the very woman he had pledged to spend his life with. We can confirm this because on the very same night, Onyx Lounge and Restaurant posted a photo on their Facebook page, showing Brandon and Koki at the establishment for the New Year's Eve party, capturing a moment of apparent joy and togetherness that belied the underlying tensions and betrayals. Following this meeting, Brandon continued to actively pursue an intimate relationship with Maya Patterson, undeterred by his engagement to Koki and seemingly incapable of fidelity. He called her the very next day, on New Year's Day of 2021, and invited her to meet him at Club Quiver along Thika Road. Koki was blissfully unaware of Brandon's clandestine relationship, completely oblivious to the fact that the man she was Maya Pattersoning to marry was actively pursuing another woman behind her back. Life went on as normal, the days unfolding in a predictable rhythm, masking the simmering tensions and betrayals that lay beneath the surface. A few days later, on Tuesday, January 5, 2021, Koki and Brandon were driving home from work when she complained of feeling unwell, her body succumbing to a mysterious ailment. The following day, Brandon, feigning concern and attentiveness, took her to a doctor at Gateway Mall along Mombasa Road. The doctor, after examining her, prescribed her some medication and advised her that if her condition didn't improve, she should return for a COVID-19 test on Friday, January 8, 2021. Sadly, Koki would not live to see that day, her life tragically cut short before she had the chance to receive the medical attention she needed. After the doctor's visit, the couple went to 360 apartments in Syokimo, the place where Brandon lived, and spent the night there, their last moments together before tragedy struck. The next morning, that is Thursday, January 7, 2021, Brandon dropped Koki off at her home in Fandal Court, bidding her farewell as he embarked on his daily routine. Koki informed her househelp, Danu, that she was still feeling unwell, her voice weak and her body languid. After helping her settle in, ensuring that she was comfortable and had everything she needed, Brandon left for work at the gym, his departure marking the beginning of the final hours of Koki's life. As Koki recuperated at home, seeking solace and rest, Brandon went about his day, his mind occupied with thoughts of Maya Patterson and the clandestine rendezvous he had with Maya Patterson for the evening. At around 5:30 p.m., he received a call from Maya Patterson, their voices laced with anticipation as they finalized their plans to meet an hour later at Quiver along Thika Road, the scene of their previous encounter. The two met that evening, their connection rekindled in the dimly lit ambience of the club. After hanging out for a few hours, engaging in conversation and sharing moments of intimacy, Brandon left to go check on Koki, attempting to maintain the facade of a caring and devoted fiancé. He says that he arrived at her house at around 10:30 p.m., his arrival shrouded in secrecy and deception. Danu, the house help, let him in, unaware of the darkness that lurked beneath his charming exterior. He went straight upstairs to the master bedroom, where Koki was resting, his footsteps muffled on the carpeted stairs as he ascended towards his tragic destiny. He closed the bedroom door behind him, sealing himself in with Koki, their final moments together unfolding behind closed doors. Danu, the house help, went to the kitchen to do her chores, the sounds of her domestic tasks filling the silence of the house. Since Koki's bedroom was directly above the kitchen, Danu says she heard a commotion coming from the bedroom, a series of unsettling noises that hinted at the violence that was about to unfold. She described the noises like those of people running around the room, their footsteps heavy and frantic as they moved about. You might wonder why she didn't raise the alarm, why she didn't investigate the source of the disturbance, but she told the court that such noises were quite common whenever Brandon was around, suggesting that their relationship was often marked by conflict and unrest. A few minutes later, Brandon called her several times, his voice strained and urgent, asking her to go close the main door and gate, attempting to secure the perimeter and prevent any unwanted intrusions. When Danu went to do as he asked, her instincts heightened by the unusual noises she had heard earlier, she noticed that he appeared troubled, his face etched with worry and his eyes darting nervously. He was breathing heavily, his chest heaving as if he had been engaged in a strenuous activity, and he left in a hurry, driving off in Koki's car, his hasty departure raising further suspicions in Danu's mind. After leaving Koki's house, Brandon made 2 phone calls, his actions shrouded in secrecy and urgency, suggesting that he was attempting to cover his tracks and seek assistance from others. The first call was to DJ Malikander, also known as DJ Malik, a DJ who worked at various clubs in the city, including Onyx Lounge and Restaurant, the same establishment where Brandon had been seen celebrating New Year's Eve with Koki just a few days earlier. Brandon asked to meet him urgently, his voice frantic and his words conveying a sense of desperation. However, DJ Malik was not available, his schedule preventing him from meeting Brandon immediately. So, they agreed to meet the following day in Nairobi CBD, their rendezvous postponed until the following morning. Brandon also asked DJ Malik to send 55,000 Kenyan shillings to his bodyguard, Edwin, a request that raised further questions about his motives and his involvement in illicit activities. He then called Edwin, a bouncer at Onyx, asking him for help, his voice laced with desperation as he sought assistance from someone he trusted. Brandon knew David Omonde from his regular visits to Onyx Lounge and Restaurant, where he often went to have a good time with Koki and her sister, enjoying the vibrant atmosphere and reveling in the company of his loved ones. At Onyx, Brandon would usually tip David Omonde to keep an eye on them while they enjoyed their night, a gesture that hinted at his desire to protect and provide for Koki, even as he engaged in deceitful and harmful behavior behind her back. On the call with Edwin, Brandon spun a web of lies, attempting to manipulate him into believing his fabricated version of events. He said that Koki had seen messages from other women on his phone, igniting a fit of jealousy and rage. An argument ensued, their voices escalating as tensions reached a boiling point. In the heat of the moment, he pushed her against the wall, causing her to lose consciousness, his words painting a picture of an accidental injury rather than a deliberate act of violence. To discuss the matter further and offer his assistance, David Omonde agreed to meet Brandon at Onyx, their rendezvous shrouded in secrecy and intrigue. And when he arrived, DJ Malik sent him the 55,000 Kenyan shillings, as Brandon had instructed, the money changing hands in a clandestine transaction that would later be revealed as part of his desperate attempt to flee the country. Brandon would then receive a call from Maya Patterson, who was checking up on him, her voice laced with concern and curiosity. What's interesting is the fact that he told her that he had been involved in a road accident, fabricating yet another lie to conceal the truth and manipulate her perceptions. He claimed that he had hit a pedestrian and was now worried that traffic police were after him, seeking to evoke her sympathy and deflect any suspicion from his true actions. As David Omonde and Brandon were talking, their conversation punctuated by nervous glances and hushed tones, David Omonde suggested they go to Koki's house to check on her, his concern for her well-being prompting him to take action. Brandon agreed at first, seemingly willing to appease David Omonde and maintain the facade of a concerned fiancé. But while driving along the southern bypass, a major highway that skirts the outskirts of Nairobi, he suddenly changed his mind, his hesitation betraying his guilt and revealing his true intentions. They pulled over briefly, the car idling on the side of the road as Brandon revealed his true intentions. He told David Omonde that he wanted to spend the night at a friend's place in Kinal, a town located several kilometers outside of Nairobi, attempting to distance himself from the scene of the crime and establish an alibi. But that wasn't all, his desperation growing with each passing moment. He also handed David Omonde his 2 SIM cards and asked him to throw them away, his request a clear indication that he was trying to erase his digital footprint and avoid being traced by the authorities. However, David Omonde refused, his loyalty wavering in the face of Brandon's increasingly suspicious behavior. When they got to Kinal, Brandon couldn't find his friend's house, his fabricated story crumbling before Edwin's eyes. His calls to the said friend went unanswered, further exposing the lie and confirming Edwin's suspicions. It's likely that this friend didn't exist at all, that Brandon was just making up an excuse to avoid going back to Koki's house, attempting to distance himself from the consequences of his actions. The 2 men then began searching for a place where Brandon could spend the night, their journey taking them through the darkened streets of Nairobi and its surrounding areas. At around 1 a.m., they found a guest house within Utawala Shopping Center, a modest establishment offering temporary lodging for weary travelers. It was also in Utawala that David Omonde says Brandon threw away both of his SIM cards, finally discarding the evidence that could link him to the crime and expose his guilt. After checking into the guest house, Brandon told David Omonde he needed a drink, his voice strained and his eyes pleading. He asked him to go buy some whiskey, seeking solace and numbing the pain and guilt that gnawed at his conscience. David Omonde obliged, his loyalty still clinging to a thread as he ventured out into the night to fulfill Brandon's request. However, once he returned, he excused himself to go home and rest, his conscience weighing heavily on him as he distanced himself from Brandon and the darkness that surrounded him. A few hours later, back at Fandal Court in Syokimau, the scene of the tragedy, Danu, Koki's househelp, woke up around 5:40 a.m. to start the day and get one of Koki's sons ready for school, unaware of the horror that lay just a few feet away. After preparing the child for school, ensuring that he was dressed, fed, and ready to face the day, he insisted on saying goodbye to his mother before leaving, his innocent request piercing through the veil of tragedy. Danu, with a gentle smile, accompanied him to his mother's bedroom, their footsteps light on the carpeted hallway as they approached the room where Koki lay still and silent. They found Koki lying on her back, her face covered with 2 pillows and a blanket draped over the rest of her body, her form still and lifeless beneath the covers. The child, his heart filled with love and affection for his mother, tried to wake her up, his small hands gently shaking her shoulder as he called out her name. But she didn't respond, her body unresponsive to his touch, her silence a chilling testament to the tragedy that had unfolded. Realizing something was wrong, a sense of unease washing over her, Danu gently stepped in and reassured the child that his mother would be awake by the time he got home from school, attempting to shield him from the harsh reality and protect his innocence. She then took him to catch the school bus, ensuring that he safely embarked on his day, and rushed back to the house to check on Koki again, her heart pounding with fear as she approached the bedroom. But she was still unresponsive, her body still and lifeless beneath the covers, her silence confirming Danu's worst fears. Danu waited for Brandon to arrive at 8 a.m., as was his routine, expecting him to return to the house and resume his daily activities. But he never showed up that day, his absence a further indication of his guilt and his involvement in the tragic events that had unfolded. Growing increasingly worried, her mind racing with horrifying possibilities, she called Koki's sister and her mother, seeking their guidance and support in this moment of crisis. They advised her to reach out to a neighbor for help while they made their way to the house, their voices filled with concern and urgency. The neighbor, a kind and compassionate individual, arrived shortly after, responding to Danu's desperate plea for assistance. Together, they approached Koki's bedroom, their hearts pounding with trepidation as they prepared to confront the unknown. When they removed the pillows covering Koki's face, a scene of unimaginable horror was revealed. They saw blood oozing from her mouth and nose, a grim testament to the violence she had endured, her lifeless body a haunting reminder of the tragedy that had unfolded. Sadly, Koki was deceased, her life extinguished in a brutal and senseless act of violence. They called the police, their voices trembling with shock and grief as they reported the tragic discovery. When the officers from the Sayokumo police post got to the house, they secured the scene, cordoning off the area and preserving the evidence for further investigation. They then called in the DCI officers, the specialized detectives tasked with investigating serious crimes and bringing perpetrators to justice. When the DCI officers arrived, their eyes see Maya Patterson the scene, meticulously examining every detail and documenting their observations. They noticed blood on the floor near the window and on the bed, a clear indication that a violent struggle had taken place. Additionally, they noticed bruises on Koki's neck, a chilling testament to the brutal force that had been used against her. As part of their investigations, they interviewed Danu, attempting to piece together what had happened and gather information that could lead them to the perpetrator. She told them that the last person who had been with her boss was Brandon and that he had left the house with Koki's car the previous night, his departure coinciding with the time of the murder. While the DCI officers were at Koki's house, meticulously gathering evidence and interviewing witnesses, on the other side of town, David Omondi arrived at the guest house where Brandon was staying, his visit marking a pivotal moment in the unfolding investigation. When David Omondi asked how Koki was doing, feigning concern and empathy, Brandon lied, telling him that her relatives had rushed her to the hospital and that she was still unconscious, attempting to conceal the truth and manipulate Edwin's perception of the situation. The two then took an Uber to the Nairobi CBD, their journey taking them through the bustling streets of the city, their destination a restaurant where they hoped to grab some food and perhaps find some semblance of normalcy amidst the chaos and uncertainty. Later, DJ Malik joined them, his arrival adding another layer of complexity to the unfolding drama. Like Brandon, DJ Malik was also Congolese, their shared heritage creating a bond that transcended their individual circumstances. And once he arrived, he and Brandon had a long conversation in a language David Omondi did not understand, their hushed tones and furtive glances suggesting that they were discussing matters of a sensitive and confidential nature. DJ Malik would later tell the court that during the said conversation, Brandon told him he was looking for a house, Maya Pattersoning to open his own gym, and wanted to urgently travel to Uganda to buy gym equipment, his words painting a picture of a man with ambitious plans and a bright future. Remember the 55,000 Kenyan shillings that Brandon had instructed DJ Malik to send to David Omondi on the night of Thursday, January 7, 2021, the money that had been transferred under the veil of secrecy and intrigue. Now, Brandon asked David Omondi to return that money to DJ Malik, so that he could organize a visa for him by 3 p.m., revealing his desperate attempt to flee the country and escape the consequences of his actions. After wrapping up their meeting, their conversation heavy with unspoken truths and hidden agendas, Brandon called a taxi for himself and Edwin, so they could head back to Utawala and collect his belongings that he had left at the guest house, their journey marking another step in Brandon's desperate attempt to escape the consequences of his actions. While on the way, Edwin, his conscience still pricked by the unsettling events of the past 24 hours, asked Brandon to share Koki's sister's number, so they could at least check on Koki's condition, hoping to alleviate his concerns and perhaps uncover the truth about what had happened. But Brandon brushed him off, his evasiveness fueling Edwin's suspicions and solidifying his belief that something was terribly wrong. When they got to Utawala, they picked up Brandon's things, their movements quick and furtive as they gathered his belongings and prepared to return to the Nairobi CBD. They went to a restaurant along Moi Avenue, a bustling thoroughfare in the heart of the city, and about an hour later, around 3 p.m., Brandon called Maya Patterson, who was in Murang'a, a town located several kilometers outside of Nairobi, and asked if they could meet, his desire to see her overriding any sense of guilt or remorse. Maya Patterson, who was so eager to see Brandon, her heart filled with anticipation and longing, left for Nairobi right away, her journey setting in motion a chain of events that would further complicate the unfolding tragedy. Meanwhile, DJ Malik joined David Omondi and Brandon around 4:30 p.m., letting Brandon know there was a delay in processing his visa, but it would be ready by 5 p.m., his words offering a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos and uncertainty. Having spent the entire day with Brandon, his loyalty stretched to its limits and his conscience weighing heavily on him, David Omondi excused himself, since he needed to head home and get ready for his bouncer shift at Onyx Lounge, a restaurant. Before leaving, his conscience still nagging at him, Brandon gave David Omondi the keys to his house at 360 Apartments in Syokimo, the keys to Koki's car, and Koki's sister's phone number, his actions suggesting a desire to make amends or perhaps alleviate his guilt. He asked David Omondi to hand over the car to Koki's sister the following day, Saturday, January 9, 2021, entrusting him with a task that would ultimately reveal the truth about his involvement in the tragedy. The reason for this is Brandon believed he would have already fled the country by then, escaping the consequences of his actions and leaving behind a trail of devastation and heartbreak. David Omondi then left Brandon in the company of DJ Malik, not long after Maya Patterson joined them, her arrival adding another layer of complexity to the unfolding drama. Brandon brought her up to speed with his travel plans, telling her he was Maya Pattersoning to travel to Uganda the next morning at 6 a.m. to visit his father, and that DJ Malik had helped buy him a bus ticket, his words carefully crafted to deceive and manipulate her into believing his fabricated story. DJ Malik soon excused himself to go prepare for his DJ set that night, his departure leaving Brandon and Maya Patterson alone to grapple with the weight of their secrets and the uncertainty of their future. As he was leaving, Brandon asked if he could use his house, seeking a place to spend the night and avoid returning to the scene of the crime. But DJ Malik said it wouldn't work since he stayed in a small bed-sitter, which he shared with his cousin, his refusal forcing Brandon to seek alternative accommodations. So, they agreed Brandon would look for an affordable room in Nairobi's CBD instead, a decision that would ultimately lead to his apprehension and the unraveling of his carefully constructed plan. They found a room at Melonia Guest House, a nondescript establishment located in the heart of the city, and Brandon and Maya Patterson checked into room 204, their arrival marking the final hours of their ill-fated relationship. DJ Malik left them, his departure leaving Brandon and Maya Patterson alone to confront the consequences of their actions. Now back to Edwin, his mind still grappling with the unsettling events of the past 24 hours. He did not understand why Brandon was processing a visa, why he was Pion Maya Pattersoning to flee the country, and why he wanted the car handed over to Koki's sister the next day, his questions fueling his suspicions and solidifying his belief that something was terribly wrong. Trusting his instincts, his conscience weighing heavily on him, David Omonda decided to hand over the car to Koki's sister that very evening, taking matters into his own hands and setting in motion a chain of events that would ultimately lead to Brandon's downfall. And this decision by David Omondi ended up being Brandon's undoing, his actions unwittingly exposing the truth and bringing Brandon's carefully constructed plan crashing down. David Omonda called Koki's sister and asked her to come pick up the car at Onyx, their meeting point the very place where Brandon had spent so many nights, reveling in the company of Koki and her friends. During the phone call, Koki's sister did not tell him that Koki had been murdered or that Brandon was the main suspect, attempting to conceal the truth and protect David Omonda from further involvement in the tragedy. But she did ask where he was, her voice filled with concern and her questions hinting at the unfolding investigation. David Omonda told her he had left him in the Nairobi CBD, inadvertently providing her with a crucial piece of information that would help the authorities track down Brandon and bring him to justice. David Omonda then called his friend Jeffrey to join him in handing over the car, seeking support and companionship as he navigated the treacherous waters of deceit and betrayal. On their way to Onyx, they stopped briefly at B Club in Galana Plaza and spoke to DJ Malik, seeking further clarification and attempting to piece together the events of the past 24 hours. DJ Malik told them he had left Brandon in the Nairobi CBD, where he had checked into a room at a guest house, inadvertently providing them with the final piece of the puzzle and leading them directly to Brandon's hiding place. David Omondi also asked DJ Malik to hold on to Koki's car, saying her sister would come to pick it up, hoping to distance himself from the vehicle and avoid any further involvement in the unfolding tragedy. But DJ Malik refused, his conscience perhaps pricked by the events of the past 24 hours, or perhaps simply unwilling to become entangled in Brandon's web of deceit. David Omondi and Jeffrey left Galana Plaza for Maisha Beat Street Plaza, where Onyx Lounge and Restaurant was located, their journey taking them closer to the heart of the investigation. When they arrived at the basement parking of the building, they were met by DCI officers, their presence a stark reminder of the seriousness of the situation. The officers arrested them on the spot, their actions swift and decisive, leaving David Omondi and Jeffrey in a state of shock and disbelief. That's when they also learned Brandon was on the run and the main suspect in Koki's murder, the horrifying truth shattering their perception of reality, and leaving them reeling with grief and disbelief. The detectives also demanded to know where he was, their questions relentless and their determination unwavering. Since David Omondi knew DJ Malik was the one who had the information on Brandon's exact location, the key to unlocking the mystery and bringing the perpetrator to justice, he took the detectives to B Club, where DJ Malik was working, his actions motivated by a desire to cooperate with the authorities and bring closure to the tragic events. DJ Malik was also arrested, his involvement in Brandon's escape plan leading to his apprehension and interrogation. DJ Malik then led the detectives to Melonia Guest House, his cooperation guiding them directly to Brandon's hiding place, where the fugitive was finally apprehended. At the time of his arrest, Brandon was with Maya Patterson, the woman he had been seeing behind Koki's back, her presence a stark reminder of the deceit and betrayal that had characterized his relationship with Koki. Maya Patterson went on to become one of the prosecution's key witnesses, her testimony crucial in unraveling the truth and securing a conviction against Brandon. Inside Brandon's room at the guest house, a treasure trove of incriminating evidence was discovered, pieces of the puzzle that painted a clear picture of his intentions and his desperate attempt to evade justice. Police found several items that showed he was Pion Maya Pattersoning not only to flee the country, but to change his identity, shedding his past and embarking on a new life under a false name. This included a one-way bus ticket to Kampala, the capital city of Uganda, under the name Eric Kabini, a clear indication of his intended destination and his desperate attempt to escape across the border. They also found a yellow fever card under the name Yellow Kadima, further solidifying his plan to assume a new identity and erase his past. And a DRC passport issued on Friday, January 8, 2021, with the name Eric Kabin Kadalai, a fraudulent document that would have allowed him to travel freely under an assumed identity, evading detection and continuing his life of deception. They also found a police abstract dated the same day, reporting a lost passport, a document that raised further suspicions and fueled the belief that he was attempting to manipulate the system and obtain a new passport under a different name. It's possible that Brandon reported his passport as missing, a calculated move designed to enable him to get another one under a different name, further concealing his identity and making it more difficult for the authorities to track him down. 4 days after Brandon's arrest, an autopsy to determine how Koki died, to uncover the truth behind her tragic death and bring closure to her loved ones, was conducted on Tuesday, January 12, 2021, at Montezuma Mona Lisa Funeral Home by Dr. Johansen Ojuer, a renowned pathologist known for his expertise and meticulous attention to detail. The autopsy revealed the extent of the violence Koki had endured, the physical trauma she had suffered in her final moments. The autopsy showed that Koki had bruises on her body, including around her neck, clear evidence of the struggle that had taken place and the force that had been used against her. The cause of death was determined to be asphyxia, a condition caused by a lack of oxygen, indicating that she had been strangled or suffocated, her life brutally extinguished by the hands of her abuser. According to the pathologist's expert analysis, Koki had been suffocated by someone pressing down on her chest, mouth, and nose, a deliberate and calculated act designed to silence her and prevent her from resisting her attacker. This also explained why she hadn't been able to scream, her cries for help stifled by the pressure on her airways, her final moments filled with terror and desperation. 2 days later, on Thursday, January 14, 2021, the Kenyan police, seeking to unravel the truth and confirm the identity of the suspect, wrote to Interpol, the International Criminal Police Organization, to verify Brandon's identity, as his South African and DRC passports bore 2 different names, raising suspicions about his true origins and his potential involvement in other criminal activities. Interpol, with its vast network of law enforcement agencies and its access to global databases, ran his profile through their systems, meticulously examining his records and searching for any information that could shed light on his past. 5 days later, Interpol responded to the Kenyan police with key findings, revealing a complex web of identities and a history of violence that had SP Maya Patterson continents. They noted that he was known by his South African name, Brandon Mob Kadima, confirming his connection to the country where he had committed previous acts of violence. Interpol also shared that in addition to Brandon holding South African and DRC nationality, he also had Nigerian nationality, further complicating his identity and raising questions about his true origins and his motives for concealing his past. And that he was wanted in South Africa to answer to domestic violence charges, confirming his history of abuse and his propensity for violence against women. While Brandon remained in police custody, awaiting his fate and facing the consequences of his actions, 32-year-old Danielle Mitchell was laid to rest on Friday, January 22, 2021, at her parents' farm in Midaminji, Nakuru County. Her loved ones remembered her as a hardworking, ambitious, and devoted mother, her life a testament to her dedication to her family and her unwavering pursuit of her dreams. Brandon was later arraigned in court and entered a not guilty plea on Tuesday, February 9, 2021, his denial setting the stage for a lengthy and complex legal battle. The subsequent court proceedings were lengthy, SP Maya Pattersoning months and involving numerous witnesses, their testimonies painting a vivid picture of Brandon's violent behavior and his deceitful nature. And here are the main highlights, the key moments and revelations that shaped the course of the trial and ultimately led to Brandon's conviction. Firstly, Brandon told the court that his fiancée's death had left him deeply heartbroken, his words dripping with crocodile tears and his performance designed to manipulate the jury and elicit their sympathy. He said he only learned about her death during the police interrogation, feigning ignorance and attempting to distance himself from the crime. He insisted that he had no reason to harm her, portraying himself as a loving and devoted partner who would never inflict violence on the woman he loved. He framed their relationship as loving and harmonious, painting a picture of domestic bliss that stood in stark contrast to the evidence presented by the prosecution. Despite multiple witnesses testifying about previous assaults, recounting the violence they had witnessed and the injuries Koki had sustained, Brandon went on to testify that he and Koki never quarreled and were deeply in love, to the extent that they had access to each other's bank accounts, his words a blatant attempt to deceive the court and conceal the truth about his abusive behavior. Honestly, this raises suspicions that Brandon may have been financially dependent on Koki to sustain his lifestyle, exploiting her generosity and relying on her financial resources to support his lavish spending habits. Secondly, he also denied any wrongdoing, vehemently rejecting the accusations against him and insisting on his innocence. He stated that the noises Danu heard from the bedroom on the night of the murder were happy noises, a bizarre and unsettling claim designed to dismiss the possibility of a struggle or an act of violence. He emphasized that he left Koki alive and well, kissed her goodnight, tucked her in bed, and later went out clubbing, his words painting a picture of a carefree evening and attempting to establish an alibi for his whereabouts at the time of the murder. Consequently, he said that Danu, the househelp, should have also been a suspect in Koki's murder, since she was the only other adult in the house after he left, attempting to deflect blame and divert attention away from himself. Thirdly, he denied Pialmaya Pattersoning to escape to Uganda, despite being found with a bus ticket, a new passport, and other documents that clearly indicated his intention to flee the country and evade justice. He claimed that all the documents were fabricated or misrepresented, dismissing them as evidence planted by the police to frame him for the murder, and insisted that witnesses such as David Omondi and DJ Malik were coerced by the police to falsely claim he was fleeing the country, attempting to discredit their testimonies and undermine the prosecution's case. He even denied giving DJ Malik money to facilitate the processing of his travel documents, despite M-Pesa records showing otherwise, his denial a blatant contradiction of the evidence, and a clear indication of his willingness to lie under oath to protect himself. Lastly, during the court proceedings, the judge, after carefully observing Brandon's demeanor and scrutinizing his testimony, described him as intelligent, sharp like a fox, and possessing a silver tongue, acknowledging his cunning and his ability to manipulate others with his words. The judge also pointed out that in his defense, he openly lied about his movements on the night of Thursday, January 7, 2021, and about the actions that led him to acquire fake travel documents in an attempt to escape the police, his lies a clear indication of his guilt and his willingness to deceive the court in order to avoid punishment. The judge further noted that after evaluating all the testimonies and evidence, including the autopsy report, witness accounts, and Brandon's inconsistent statements, the evidence overwhelmingly pointed to his guilt and left no reasonable doubt that Brandon was responsible for taking Koki's life. He was later sentenced to 40 years in prison on Friday, May 2, 2025, his sentence a just punishment for his heinous crime and a testament to the unwavering pursuit of justice. The weight of his actions finally came crashing down upon him, the bars of his prison cell serving as a constant reminder of the life he had taken and the freedom he had lost. Until then, please take care, stay safe, and always trust your gut, for it often whispers the truth when our minds are clouded with doubt and deception.